Hello, friends. Welcome back to our short story series. In this series, we are going to share classic fairy tales, updated and changed, based on your suggestions. In this story, we are going to hear about a miller's son whose father boasted he could spin straw into gold. When the queen hears, she takes the miller's son to her castle and puts him in a room with a pile of straw and tells him to be finished spinning the straw into gold by morning. The boy tries to tell her he can't really spin straw into gold. It was just something his father said. What will happen to the boy and the straw? Now, before we continue with our story, let's start by making sure you are comfy and take some great big belly breaths. Breathing in slowly through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Notice how your belly rises as you fill yourself up with air. Breathe in and breathe out. Notice how relaxing it feels as you release the breath. Breathe in and breathe out. You are becoming relaxed, calm, and peaceful. One more time. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Now, let's continue with our story. A long time ago, in a land far, far away, there was a beautiful river that ran through a large green forest. And beside that river, there stood a mill. The miller's house was close by. At that time, a miller's job was to operate a mill, a machine to grind grain to make flour. And this particular miller had a very handsome son. He was a very smart and clever boy, and the miller was so proud of him that he one day told the queen of the land, who used to come and hunt in the forest near the mill, that his son could spin gold out of straw. Now this queen was very fond of money, and when she heard the miller's boast, her interest was high, and she sent for the boy to be brought to the castle to meet her. Then she led him to a chamber in her castle where there was a great heap of straw, and gave him a spinning wheel and said, "You must spin all this straw into gold before morning, or else." The queen had her heart set for more riches, so it was in vain that the poor boy said that it was only a silly boast of his father's, for it was impossible to spin straw into gold. The door to the room was locked, and he was left alone. He sat down in one corner of the room and, feeling sad for himself, started to cry. Then, all of a sudden, the door opened, and a small old man wearing a tall pointed hat hobbled in and said, "Hello to you, my good boy. What are you crying for?" "Well," he said, "I must spin this straw into gold, and well, that is impossible." "What will you give me," said the small old man, "to do it for you?" "My necklace," replied the boy. He took him at his word and sat himself down to the wheel and whistled and sang. Round about, lo and behold, reel away, straw into gold." And the wheel spun and spun, so fast that the work was quickly done, and the straw was miraculously spun into gold. When the queen came and saw this, she was greatly astonished and very, very pleased. But she wasn't a kind queen, and she desired more and more gold. So she shut up the poor miller's son again with a fresh task, spinning even more gold. Then again he didn't know what to do, and sat down once more, sad, and started to cry. But the small old man with the pointy hat soon opened the door and said, "What will you give me to do your task?" "The ring on my finger," he said. So his new-found friend took the ring and began to work at the wheel again, and whistled and sang. Round about, lo and behold, reel away, straw into gold." And again before morning, all the straw was miraculously spun into gold again. The queen was greatly delighted to see all this glittering treasure, but still she had not enough. So she took the miller's son to a yet larger heap and said, "All this must be spun tonight, and if it is, you shall be my prince." As soon as he was alone, the small old man with the pointy hat came in and said, "What will you give me to spin gold for you this third time?" "I have nothing left," the miller's son said. "Then how about you give me," said the small old man, "the first child that you may have when you are older?" "That may never be," thought the miller's son. And as he knew no other way to get his task done, he said he would do what the small man asked. Round went the wheel again to the old song, and the small old man once more spun the heap into gold. The queen came in the morning and, finding all she wanted, was forced to keep her word, and the miller's son really became a prince. Many years later, after marrying a smart princess, their first child was born, and he had long since forgotten what he had promised the small old man with the pointy hat. But one day the small old man with the pointy hat came into his room, where the prince was sitting, playing with his baby, and reminded him of his promise. Then he was so sad, in tears, and said he would give him all the money in his bank if he would forget the whole thing. But it was in vain. The small old man, feeling only a little bit kind, said, "I will give you 3 days' grace, and if during that time you tell me my name, you shall keep your baby." Now the prince lay awake all night, thinking of all the odd names that he had ever heard, and he sent messengers all over the world to find out new ones. The next day, the small old man came, and he began with Lizzie, Everett, Nora, Xander, Hazel, Asha, Cammy, and all the names he could remember. But to all and each of them, the small old man said, "Sir, that is not my name." The second day, he began with all the comical names he could think of: pizza, hamburglar, purple octopus, and so on. But the small old man still said to every one of them, "Sir, that is not my name." The third day, one of the messengers came back and said, "I have traveled 2 days without hearing any other names. But yesterday, as I was climbing a high hill among the trees of the forest, where the fox and the hare bid each other good night, I saw a little hut. And before the hut burnt a fire. And round about the fire, a funny, small old man with a pointy hat was dancing upon one leg and singing. Merrily the feast I'll make, today I'll brew to borrow bake. Merrily I'll dance and sing, for next day will a stranger bring. Little does my lord dream, Rumpelstiltskin is my name." When the prince heard this, he jumped for joy. And as soon as the small old man came, he sat down upon his chair and called all of his friends to come and join as witnesses. Then the small old man began to chuckle at the thought of having the poor child to take home with him to his hut in the woods to help him do his work and keep him company. And he cried out, "Now, kind sir, what is my name?" "Is it Jonah?" asked the prince. "No, sir." "Is it Finn?" "No, sir." "Is it Quinley?" "It is not." "Can your name be Rumpelstiltskin?" said the prince with a smile. "Who told you that?" cried the small old man, and stamped his right foot so deep into the floor that he started hopping about in pain. Then he ran off, while the prince and all his friends breathed a sigh of relief. And that is the end of our silly story. Now, say after me, aloud or just to yourself. I can take great big belly breaths. No matter how hard it is, I can do it. I am calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Sleep tight.